businesses. Finally, geographic population shifts or migration patterns are vital, showing us which areas are growing and which are declining, directly impacting property values and development opportunities. So, why does all this data matter to a property practitioner? It is simple. You cannot sell a product without knowing your customer. Demographics provide the crucial insights needed to tailor your marketing strategies, advise your clients accurately, and identify emerging market trends. If you know a neighborhood has a growing population of young families, you can focus your efforts on sourcing and listing 3-bedroom homes near good schools. If data shows an influx of high-income professionals into a city center, you can anticipate a rising demand for luxury apartments and penthouses. Understanding these statistics allows you to be proactive, not reactive, positioning yourself as a knowledgeable expert who provides real value beyond just opening doors. Furthermore, in South Africa, our Rainbow Nation identity makes understanding cultural diversity absolutely essential. Our country is a rich tapestry of different cultures, languages, and traditions, each with its own unique perspectives on family, community, and home. A property practitioner who is culturally sensitive and aware can build trust and rapport far more effectively. For example, some cultures may place a high value on having space for extended family, while others might prioritize proximity to specific places of worship or community centers. By taking the time to understand these nuances, you demonstrate respect and can serve your clients' needs more deeply, leading to stronger relationships and a sterling reputation in this very personal business of finding a home. The South African real estate market does not exist in a vacuum. It is deeply intertwined with the country's overall economic health. Currently, our economy is navigating a period of modest growth, grappling with challenges like high unemployment and fluctuating inflation rates. This economic climate directly influences the property sector. When the economy is strong and people feel financially secure, they are more confident about making large investments like buying a home. Conversely, during times of economic uncertainty, potential buyers may become hesitant, leading to a slowdown in market activity. Property practitioners must keep a finger on the pulse of the national economy, as indicators like GDP growth, consumer confidence, and employment statistics are all powerful predictors of future market trends. Several key factors, political, social, and environmental, constantly shape our property market. One major political factor is land reform policy. Debates and policy changes around land ownership and redistribution can create uncertainty, influencing investor confidence and property values, particularly in the agricultural and commercial sectors. A significant social factor is the rate of urbanization. As more people move from rural areas to cities in search of economic opportunities, the demand for urban housing intensifies, putting pressure on infrastructure and driving up prices in metropolitan hubs. From an environmental perspective, water scarcity and the increasing risk of climate-related events like droughts and floods are becoming major considerations, affecting property desirability and insurance costs in certain regions. A fourth factor, blending social and political elements, is service delivery. The reliability of municipal services such as water, electricity, and sanitation in a particular area has a direct and profound impact on property values. Neighborhoods with consistent and high-quality services are inherently more attractive to buyers and tenants, commanding higher prices. In contrast, areas plagued by frequent power outages or water shortages will see property values stagnate or even decline as quality of life is compromised. Lastly, crime and safety remain a critical social factor. The perception of security in a suburb is a top priority for most South African homebuyers, making gated communities, secure estates, and areas with active community policing forums highly sought after. To stay informed, property practitioners must consult reliable sources for economic information. The South African Reserve Bank is a primary source, providing crucial data on interest rates, inflation, and overall monetary policy through its quarterly bulletins. Statistics. South Africa offers a wealth of demographic and economic data, including consumer price index figures, unemployment rates, and building statistics. Industry-specific reports from major banks like FNB, ABSA, and Standard Bank provide excellent analyses of housing market trends and affordability. Property portals like Property24 and Private Property publish regular trend reports based on their vast listing data. Finally, financial news outlets such as Business Day and MoneyWeb offer daily commentary and analysis on economic and political events that impact the real estate sector. The digital revolution has profoundly reshaped the real estate industry, and its impact continues to grow. New technology is changing everything from how properties are marketed to how transactions are managed. Virtual reality and three-dimensional tours now allow potential buyers to walk through a home from anywhere in the world, broadening the market reach for sellers and offering incredible convenience for buyers. Drones are used to capture stunning aerial photographs and videos of properties, showcasing their features and location in ways that were previously impossible. Digital platforms and customer relationship management systems help agents manage their client databases, automate communication, and track leads with incredible efficiency, freeing up more time for them to focus on building relationships and closing deals. The political environment casts a long shadow over the property market, influencing both local and international investor sentiment. Political stability is paramount. It fosters a climate of predictability and confidence, which is essential for long-term investments like real estate. When the government is perceived as stable and its policies as consistent, both foreign and local investors are more willing to commit capital to property development and acquisition. Conversely, periods of political uncertainty, such as contentious elections or major policy shifts, can cause investors to pause, leading to a dip in demand and a slowdown in market activity. Government policies on taxation, foreign ownership, and infrastructure spending also have a direct and tangible impact on property values and development cycles. At the heart of any market are the fundamental principles of supply and demand. In real estate, supply refers to the total number of properties available for sale or rent in a given area at a specific time. Demand refers to the number of buyers or renters actively looking for properties in that same area. The relationship between these two forces determines property prices and market conditions. When demand outstrips supply, we have a seller's market. In this scenario, there are more buyers than available homes, which leads to competition, bidding wars, and rising prices. Sellers have the upper hand and can often dictate terms. When supply exceeds demand, it becomes a buyer's market. Here, buyers have more options and less competition, giving them greater negotiating power and often leading to price reductions. This dynamic of supply and demand directly influences a buyer's experience through the concepts of scarcity and choice. In a seller's market, scarcity is the dominant feature. Buyers face limited options and must act quickly and decisively to secure a property, often paying the full asking price or even more. The feeling of urgency can be stressful, and the power clearly lies with the seller. In a buyer's market, the situation is reversed, and choice is abundant. Buyers can take their time, view multiple properties, and make carefully considered offers. They are in a much stronger position to negotiate on price and conditions, such as asking for repairs to be made before the sale is concluded. Understanding which type of market you are in is crucial for advising both buyers and sellers effectively. Inflation is a term we hear often, and it essentially means the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and subsequently, the purchasing power of currency is falling. In simpler terms, your money buys you less today than it did yesterday. This is officially measured in South Africa using the Consumer Price Index, which tracks the average price changes of a basket of common consumer goods and services over time. There are two main types of inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when demand in an economy outpaces supply, pulling prices up. Cost push inflation happens when the cost of producing goods and services increases, forcing businesses to push those higher costs onto consumers in the form of higher prices. The South African Reserve Bank plays a critical role in managing inflation, and its primary tool is the interest rate, specifically the repurchase rate or repo rate. This is the rate at which commercial banks borrow money from the Reserve Bank. When the Reserve Bank wants to curb inflation, it increases the repo rate. This makes it more expensive for commercial banks to borrow money, and they, in turn, pass this higher cost on to consumers by increasing their own lending rates, including the prime lending rate. Higher interest rates discourage borrowing and spending, which helps to cool down the economy and bring inflation under control. Conversely, when the economy is sluggish, the Reserve Bank may lower interest rates to encourage borrowing and stimulate economic activity. For homeowners with a mortgage, inflation and interest rates have a very direct and personal impact. Most home loans in South Africa are variable rate mortgages, meaning the interest rate is linked to the prime lending rate. When the Reserve Bank increases interest rates to fight inflation, the monthly bond repayments for these homeowners go up. This reduces their disposable income, as more of their budget must be allocated to their mortgage. A significant or sustained increase in interest rates can put homeowners under considerable financial pressure, potentially leading to an increase in defaults. This is why a stable inflation and interest rate environment is so important for the health and stability of the residential property market. Beyond its effect on mortgage repayments, inflation also impacts homeowners in other ways. On one hand, property is often seen as a good hedge against inflation. As the value of money decreases, the value of tangible assets like real estate tends to increase, meaning the capital value of your home may grow over the long term. However, inflation also increases the costs associated with homeownership. The price of maintenance, repairs, municipal rates, and insurance all tend to rise with inflation. For property practitioners, it is important to explain both sides of this coin to clients, helping them understand how inflation can simultaneously grow their asset value while also increasing their day-to-day running costs. The real estate industry is, inherently competitive, with thousands of agents and agencies all vying for the same clients and listings. Standing out from the crowd is a constant challenge. This competition affects property practitioners on multiple levels. It drives innovation, forcing agents to adopt new technologies, marketing techniques, and service models to gain an edge. It also places immense pressure on commission rates, as some agents may offer lower fees to attract clients, although this can sometimes come at the cost of service quality. For individual agents, competition means a constant need for networking, personal branding, and, demonstrating unique value to potential clients. It's a field where your reputation and track record are your most valuable assets. This competitive landscape also impacts real estate agencies as a whole. Larger, established brands often have the advantage of significant marketing budgets, widespread brand recognition, and extensive referral networks. They can offer comprehensive training and support systems to their agents. However, smaller boutique agencies can compete effectively by carving out a niche in a specific geographical area or property type, such as luxury homes or student accommodation. They can offer a more personalized and hands-on service that larger firms may struggle to replicate. Ultimately, competition benefits the consumer by providing more choice and pushing all practitioners to elevate their standards of service, professionalism, and expertise in order to succeed. To ensure this competition is fair and that the public is protected, the industry is governed by robust legislation. The cornerstone of this regulation is the Property Practitioners Act 22 of 2019, which came into full effect on the 1st of February 2022. This comprehensive piece of legislation replaced the old Estate Agency Affairs Act 112 of 1976. The PPA was introduced to transform the property market, professionalize the industry, and provide greater consumer protection. Its scope is much broader than the old act, covering not just traditional estate agents, but all property practitioners, which includes bond originators, property managers, developers, and other related service providers. The PPA introduced several main rules and changes. It established a new regulatory body, the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority, or PPRA, to oversee the industry. One of its most significant requirements is that a seller or lessor must now complete and attach a mandatory disclosure of defects form to the sale or lease agreement, ensuring transparency for buyers and tenants. The Act also places a strong emphasis on transformation, aiming to promote greater participation of historically disadvantaged individuals within the property sector. Furthermore, it clarifies and strengthens the rules around trust accounts and the holding of client funds, reinforcing the fiduciary duty that practitioners owe to the public. These changes represent a major step forward in modernizing and regulating the South African property landscape. The Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority, or PPRA, is the statutory body established by the Property Practitioners Act to regulate the conduct of property practitioners in South Africa. Its functions are quite extensive and really designed to ensure a well-run and ethical property market. A key function is to regulate the affairs of all property practitioners, which includes setting standards for training and development to ensure a high level of professionalism across the industry. The PPRA is also tasked with implementing measures to transform the property sector, making it more inclusive and representative of the country's demographics. This involves creating programs and frameworks that support the entry and growth of new participants from previously disadvantaged backgrounds. Another critical function of the PPRA is consumer protection. The authority is mandated to educate and inform the public about their rights and responsibilities when dealing with property practitioners. It runs awareness campaigns and provides resources to help consumers make informed decisions. The PPRA also manages a process for lodging complaints against property practitioners who act unethically or unlawfully. It has the power to investigate these complaints, conduct disciplinary hearings, and impose sanctions, which can range from fines to the withdrawal of a practitioner's right to operate. This enforcement role is vital for maintaining public trust and confidence in the real estate industry. The Property Practitioners Act places strict rules on the handling of client money through the use of trust accounts. Every property practitioner who receives money on behalf of a client, such as a deposit on a property purchase or rental income, must operate a dedicated trust account with a registered bank. This money does not belong to the property practitioner or the agency. It is held in trust for a specific purpose. The Act is incredibly clear that these funds cannot be mixed with the business's own operational funds. This separation is a fundamental principle of fiduciary duty, ensuring that client money is protected from the business's creditors and cannot be misused. Furthermore, the regulations governing trust accounts are rigorous. Property practitioners must keep detailed accounting records for all transactions passing through their trust accounts. These records must be audited annually by a registered auditor, and a copy of the audit report must be submitted to the PPRA. This provides an essential layer of oversight and accountability. Any interest earned on the money held in the trust account is, by law, payable to the property practitioner's fidelity fund, not to the client or the practitioner, unless otherwise agreed in writing by all parties. Strict adherence to these trust account rules is non-negotiable and is a cornerstone of ethical practice. The Property Practitioners Fidelity Fund is a statutory fund created to protect consumers against financial loss due to theft or misuse of their trust money by a property practitioner. It basically acts as an insurance policy for the public. If a registered property practitioner steals a client's deposit or rental funds, the affected client can lodge a claim with the Fidelity Fund for reimbursement. This safety net is a crucial element of consumer protection and underpins the public's willingness to entrust large sums of money to practitioners. The fund is primarily financed by contributions from property practitioners themselves, and the interest generated from all property practitioner trust accounts across the country. To operate legally as a property practitioner, one must be in possession of a valid Fidelity Fund Certificate, or FFC. This certificate is issued annually by the PPRA, and serves as proof that the practitioner is registered and compliant with all the requirements of the Property Practitioners Act. An FFC will only be issued if the practitioner has met the necessary educational standards, has no disqualifying convictions, and has submitted a clean audit report for their trust accounts. It is illegal to practice as a property practitioner or to earn a commission without a valid FFC. This requirement ensures that only qualified and vetted individuals are permitted to handle property transactions, thereby safeguarding the public interest. A Fidelity Fund Certificate is not guaranteed for life. It can be withdrawn by the PPRA under several circumstances. The most common reason for withdrawal is a failure to comply with the Act's regulations. This could include failing to submit an annual trust account audit, being found guilty of improper conduct following a disciplinary hearing, or being sequestrated or declared mentally unfit. If a practitioner is found to have misappropriated trust funds, their FFC will be immediately withdrawn, and they will face legal consequences. The power to withdraw an FFC is the PPRA's ultimate enforcement tool, ensuring that practitioners who do not adhere to the highest ethical and professional standards are removed from the industry. Another vital institution in South African property law is the Deeds Office. Its main function is to provide a public register of all property ownership and other real rights in land. When a property is bought and sold, the transfer of ownership is not complete until it has been registered in the Deeds Office. This process, handled by a specialized attorney called a conveyancer, ensures legal certainty regarding who owns what property. The Deeds Office also registers mortgage bonds, servitudes, and other legal claims against a property. This central, state-guaranteed record provides security of title, meaning an owner can prove their ownership against anyone. This system is considered one of the best in the world and is fundamental to a stable property market. Property ownership is not absolute. It comes with responsibilities and is subject to regulations that govern how land can be used. This is managed through property zoning and other land use controls, which are typically determined by the local municipality. Zoning divides a municipal area into different districts or zones, such as residential, commercial, industrial, and agricultural. Each zone has specific rules about what can be built, the purpose of the buildings, and the density of development. For example, a residential 1 zone is typically for single-family houses on individual plots, while a business 4 zone might be designated for office buildings and retail space. Zoning ensures orderly and compatible development, preventing, for instance, a noisy factory from being built in the middle of a quiet residential suburb. Beyond basic zoning, there are other types of land use rules that impact property. These can include building line restrictions, which dictate how far a structure must be set back from the street or property boundaries. Height restrictions may limit how tall a building can be, preserving views or maintaining the character of an area. Coverage rules determine the maximum percentage of a plot of land that can be covered by buildings. Furthermore, properties in historically significant areas may be subject to heritage controls that restrict any alterations to the building's facade. Understanding these local land use regulations is, honestly, crucial for property practitioners, as they directly affect a property's value and its potential for future development or alteration. In the collaborative world of real estate, referral networks are formal or informal systems where property practitioners recommend clients to one another. This often happens when a client is moving to a different city or country, or when a practitioner specializes in a different type of property than what the client needs. For example, a residential agent in Cape Town might refer a client who wants to buy a commercial property in Johannesburg to a trusted colleague who specializes in that market. The referring agent typically receives a percentage of the commission earned by the agent who successfully concludes the deal. These networks are built on trust, reputation, and mutual benefit. The advantages of being part of a strong referral network are significant. For the practitioner receiving the referral, it is a valuable source of pre-qualified leads, reducing the time and money spent on marketing and prospecting. For the agent giving the referral, it provides an additional income stream and allows them to offer a comprehensive service to their clients, even when their needs fall outside their own area of expertise. For the client, it offers a seamless and trusted transition to a new agent who has been vetted by their current practitioner, saving them the time and uncertainty of searching for a reliable professional in an unfamiliar market. Referral networks foster a sense of community and cooperation within a competitive industry. A contract is a legally binding agreement between 2 or more parties. It is a promise that the law will enforce. For a contract to be valid and enforceable, it must contain several essential elements. These are consensus, which is basically a meeting of the minds; contractual capacity, meaning the parties must be legally able to contract; legality, so the purpose of the contract must be legal; possibility of performance, which means what is agreed upon must be possible to perform; and formalities, so the contract must comply with any legal requirements, such as being in writing. In real estate, practitioners use several types of contracts daily. Most commonly, the mandate agreement between the agent and the seller, and the agreement of sale, often called an offer to purchase between the buyer and the seller. Consensus is the cornerstone of any valid contract. It means the parties are in complete agreement on all the essential terms. This is achieved through a clear offer and an unequivocal acceptance of that offer. Contractual capacity refers to a person's legal ability to enter into a binding contract. Generally, any person over the age of 18 has full contractual capacity. However, this capacity can be limited or absent in certain cases. For example, minors have limited capacity and usually require the assistance of a guardian. A person who is mentally incapacitated or heavily intoxicated to the point of not understanding the consequences of their actions may be deemed to lack the capacity to contract. A contract does not last forever and can be terminated in several ways. The most common is through full performance, where all parties have fulfilled their obligations. A contract can also be terminated by mutual agreement, where the parties agree to release each other from their obligations. Impossibility of performance, for instance, if the property is destroyed before transfer, can also terminate a contract. Unfortunately, contracts can also end due to a breach of contract. This occurs when one party fails to perform their obligations as agreed without a valid legal excuse. For example, a buyer failing to secure a bond by the agreed-upon date would be in breach. When a breach of contract occurs, the innocent party has several legal remedies available. They can choose to uphold the contract and sue for specific performance. asking a court to compel the defaulting party to fulfill their obligations. Alternatively, they can choose to cancel the contract, which effectively dissolves the agreement and restores the parties to their original positions as far as possible. In either case, the innocent party may also be able to claim damages for any financial loss they suffered as a direct result of the breach. Understanding these contractual principles is not just an academic requirement, it is really fundamental to protecting your clients, your commission, and your professional integrity in every single transaction.